And we have some more people joining in. All right, so good afternoon, good morning rather, good morning everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Beyond Belief. Beyond Belief is a session that we've started in trying to understand how people have moved beyond their beliefs, beyond somebody else's belief, to be where they are today. We don't need to be the CEO of the World Bank or the Prime Minister of India to have to move beyond belief. Each one of us at every stage in life, we keep moving beyond belief. So with that, having said that, I take great pleasure in welcoming Nikita Sara. Nikita is a development professional, and before I talk about Nikita, I'd like to introduce our co-host today. May I request everyone to be on mute? We're having some conversations here. Thank you. So before I introduce Nikita, let me introduce you to my co-host, Kirtika Rajaram. She would be taking your questions. Kirtika, you may want to say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody. It's amazing morning to connect with you all. I'll be there to, take up all your questions in case that in between, if you all have anything, you can write it up, or at the end of the session, we can even have a question and answer sort of a session.
Thank you, Kirtika. And so about Nikita, I shall just read it out from here. Nikita is a development professional and currently heads advocacy and communication in an international NGO. Her professional journey has taken her through enriching experience from being in a corporate sector to finally finding roots in development sector, a choice not many of us do. In her current position, she leads work on bringing about a change in discriminatory laws and practices for people affected by leprosy and disability. She also heads strategic social behavior change and advocacy campaigns along with key stakeholders across the country. She's skilled in nurturing partnership with government, multi-stakeholders for mobilizing and managing joint programs. She supports developing champions with wider lens on women, as she believes that they are the real influencers and change makers. Now, she has various publications such as policy reports and research papers, especially on discrimination and behavior change. She has also supported monitoring and evaluation of some internationally funded projects. She has also produced a number of films for the organization. They range from corporate films, animations, documentaries, and stories of discrimination and impact. That's about her professionally. Personally, she's very comfortable leading in complexity, gets fueled by challenge, and passionate believer in the power of social change. And her absolute personal life, her friends call her badass mom, and she credits her 3 sons for that title. When they're not driving her up the wall, they take responsibility for her high stress level, constant rush of adrenaline, receding hairline, awesome as they are, they also are the very reason for her existence, her fuel, therapists, counselors, greatest cheerleaders ever, and ensuring that each day is worth living. Nikita, despite all this, she still finds time to mentor women facing domestic abuse, part of Single Parent Squad, and member of fantastic network and support group of parents with children with autism. Nikita?
Thank you so much.
I shall not say any more than that. I know there's a whole list.
That is really long. Thank you.
So Nikita and I met in one of the training programs that we attended in Goa, and we shared a room. I mean, we were strangers put in a room, and we were there for about 6 nights together, 6 days together rather, and we had a good time there. We had a good time, and we've been in touch after that, and Nikita is very, very enthusiastic about a lot of things. Now, I won't like to say any more about Nikita. I'll just start straight on. So Nikita, so you were a single mom with 3 kids when the kids were really small. A choice that you took because of the circumstances. And with those 3 kids, you were in Chennai, you moved after a short span in Allahabad, you moved to Delhi, a city which was not known to you. You didn't know anybody. You didn't have a choice. You didn't have schools for your children. You didn't have admissions. So you moved. I'm sure there were a lot of fears that you handled, and a lot of fears. I mean, tell us about what are the beliefs that you surpassed in moving in that area, because I can't imagine. I mean, women don't take risks, and you took a huge risk with 3 children. So we'd like to know a little bit about that journey.
Thank you so much, Madhujit. And before I start off, hello everybody. It's really wonderful being on this platform and talking about, what has happened in my life. And today's theme perfectly fits beyond belief. We have so many beliefs, and it's so embedded in our system that think we can't think beyond it. So like Madhujit said, I have a long story, and I decided one day to move out with my 3 sons. And the first move I made was to Allahabad. That was my hometown. But before that, I go back to Allahabad. I have a son with autism, and my youngest was just about 5. But you hang on to something because of the kids. Dunya kya kahegi, ye kaise hoga, wo kaise hoga. But then you kind of, if you don't take the first step, you would never ever take any more steps, and you have to take the risk. So that's how I moved to Allahabad. But then like I said, I had a son with autism. So we didn't have any schools over there, no special schools. And I decided to move to Delhi with my 3 sons, just a bag, and just decided to move. So people said, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? And especially all my relatives, because my mother was running a school. Financially, we were very stable. And I said, no, this life is not for us, and not for my son who needs special intervention at a very early age. And I decided to pack my bags and move to Delhi with no admission for children, no place to live, no job for me to sustain ourselves. But I just had one thing, and that one thing was a complete faith that things will happen. I just, at that time, I didn't know about this, universal concept that you throw it in the universe and the universe will bring it all together for you. But then I just prayed. I just took that first step of faith. But then there were a lot of detractors, and a lot of, especially, people in the family. Is she mad? I mean, she's taking this step, going with the 3 kids. She's got no job. She's completely out of her mind. So, but I reached Delhi, and I lived, because my husband was in the armed forces and my cousins too. So I lived in the mess for some time, and I found a place, a beautiful place that was just that kind of an ideal thing that I really, really wanted. And I didn't get one job, but I had 3 to choose from. And then my sons got admission, and just things happened so beautifully, and it took place. But today, if you ask me, if I look back, I think it was the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. Absolutely crazy.
And we're talking about how many years back is this?
So this was in 2004.
And that's about 16 years ago. And 16 years ago, we didn't have internet. We didn't have, mobile phones probably. And I mean, not so common. It was there. We were internet world, and you still did that. So that's amazing, Nikita.
Yeah, we did have internet, but yes, it was crazy actually.
Yeah, I know. I had got my first computer in about, I think, 92 or so, but hardly used it. And you know how much, we used to save the bandwidth. We used to save the hard drive space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So at that point in time, I'm sure a lot of people must have told you, Nikita, this can't happen. You can't do it. How can you do this to your children? How can you do this to yourself? How will you manage? Did that happen? I mean, I'm just assuming that.
Yes, of course it happened, especially when you have family members and a lot of relatives saying, you're going to come back in 3 months. And they didn't tell me directly, but they were telling everybody in my family, Dekhna, 3 months mein pack up kar aa jayegi, kuch nahi hona hai iska. And the more I would hear of this, that would fuel me more. It was like a challenge. I was always at, okay, challenge accepted. But then I had this amazing relationship with God also. When things were going horribly wrong, and there were times when I was asking, why me? I always had direct answers in terms like, there was a time when it was a very, very tough day for me and a very tough night. And, while sleeping, I just said, God, why me? And the next day, there was in our organization, they were having a conversation, and somebody just said, you've been asking God, why me? In general, they said something, and I was like shocked. So there've been a lot of times when you actually have the faith and accept each challenge and go on. At this time, I always love telling this particular story about the frogs who wanted to climb the tower, and they decided to have a competition among themselves, and they said, are you crazy? No frog has ever gone such high up on a tower. So nobody can. But then they had this competition. And as they went up and up and up, and all the frogs started having a heart attack and falling off the tower, and they just couldn't go right on top. But after some time, they saw a frog, just running up, and they said, come back, you'll die, come back. There's nothing that's going to happen to you. You can't reach it. So, at least save your life and come back. But he reached the top. And when they came back, then all these frog news reporters and these frog media people surrounded him and said, I just want to know, how did you manage to do it? And then he didn't reply to them, and he was just smiling and so excited. And then they realized that he was deaf and he didn't hear. So I think it's really important in life to be deaf to a lot of things that people say. Be answerable to yourself. If you have a purpose and a vision, you need to follow it through. So that is something that I would say, just be deaf to whatever people have to say, but listen to the ones who need to advise you, and then you're the best person to, believe in what you need to go in for.
So beautifully, I could see the communication expert Nikita coming out of the story.
Yes, I could just see a movie of the frog movie. I just had a visualization of it.
I don't remember where I read this story. I was trying to find the original story, but I couldn't find it. I'm sure, but there are so many frog stories like this on Google, but I must find the tar story sometime. It's fantastic.
Beautiful. And then from the corporate life to your journey to an NGO, you must have compromised on the compensation for sure, because a lot of people that I meet, they say that we want to get into an NGO, but what scares them is about the compensation and about the future of that NGO, because some NGOs just start, and due to lack of funding over a period of time, they just close down. So that risk people don't want. I mean, they think that it's a nice thing to aspire to get into an NGO, but that risk you did take. And so can you tell us about that journey and some of the beliefs you busted over there?
Right. So it's been really interesting, because when I came to Delhi and I started looking for jobs, everybody said, teacher ban jao. Because I did have a B.Ed qualification, having married a Fauji and being in Fauj, later on I did from Annamalai. And I became a principal in the Air Force School for some time in Amritsar, because there was nobody who had a B.Ed qualification at that point of time. But it was a very enriching experience. And because I was brought up among educationalists, I had that in my blood, but I never wanted to be a teacher. So when I came to Delhi, there were options of me joining in, and everybody said, you'll have holidays when kids will have holidays. But for me to sustain our family and to, live and thrive, I couldn't, work at that time. When the 6th pay commission also was not there, then the salary of the teachers wasn't really good. So I had to look for a corporate job, and I was in the corporate field for a long time when I was in Chennai. So when I came to Delhi, I joined this corporate job, and then because one thing that I told my kids right in the beginning, that listen, all of us are going to slog like crazy throughout the week, but weekends, we're just going to have a blast. Every weekend we would be out on the malls and out in restaurants or eating or just driving down and having a lot of fun. So the fact is that, and then the whole week, all of us were putting our soul, complete soul into whatever work we were doing. And so it just moved on, the career path started taking off, and finally I found myself, as a general manager in a corporate organization, then as a vice president. But then there was no job satisfaction, and I wasn't happy. And then, but it was just one of my previous CEOs said that one NGO is looking for a person like you. Would you like to join? So I said, okay, I don't mind exploring. I've heard a lot about NGOs. So that was a different NGO. And so there was no compromise on a pay at that point of time. But yes, there was a lot to learn over there. But I moved on to another one, and both the NGOs, I didn't feel, it was the right place. They were very corporate kind of NGOs, and it wasn't so much about, the people that they were working in. It was about how many projects you get and, how much money you make. So it was something like that. And I was like, why am I even in NGOs? And I started looking back, at some other options that I could take. And then I got an opportunity with this organization called the Leprosy Mission in 2011. And I really needed, a weekend off. And I wanted a 9-to-5 career. And it was an international NGO. So I decided to give it a chance. So, of course, there were certain compromises. It was a completely different culture. But at that moment, I wasn't thinking about the culture change or about so many things, but it did offer an amazing position and an amazing opportunity. And I remember my grandfather having done a lot of things for the Leprosy Mission Hospital that was in Allahabad, where I grew up. And so I joined it. And it was really fun because I remember the first day when I joined, it was a senior management meeting, and I was a part of the senior management team. And as soon as I entered, so I still carried my corporate kind of way of dressing. I love stilettos. I love wearing saris, and lots of kajal, which is still on. And so I just walked into the room, and I stepped in, and I stepped out of the room. I was like, oh my God, ye main kahan aa gayi hu? Because everybody, nobody had any lipstick, and everybody was so simply dressed, and I felt so awkward. I just went to the washroom and quickly just kind of wiped my lipstick and then got back again. And then slowly in the week that followed, I tried to get into that kind of be like everybody else, find a place for myself and just be like everybody. But it was so wonderful because after a week, people started noticing what I was doing, and they said, no, you're not doing that. We're going to be, getting with the big jhumkas and the stilettos and the saris. So you're not changing. Let's all change together, and make, that completely destroy the stereotypes and the perception. And it did, we have now a fantastic bunch of people, and the jhumkas and the saris and lots of exciting things started happening. And another interesting thing is, when I joined, I would ask people, how long have you been here for? So they would say 10 years, 20 years. And I said, are you crazy? After 5 years, you should just move on. Your career stops growing. You don't have any market value. And, but it's been about 10 years for me in this organization, and I do not plan to move because being a part of this has completely changed me. The vacuum that I felt in my life, it's completely filled. And there's so much that I've learned in this organization. There's so much to do, and looking at the people, the compassion and passion which they work with has completely changed me. So it's fantastic working in NGOs. And people often ask, कि ये मैंने MSW करा है, मुझे NGO में job मिलेगा? But then we have people who have passed from the top medical college, the top MBA colleges, even Oxford, working in all these NGOs. So, it's if you have the desire and you have the will, NGO is absolutely a perfect place to work and contribute. There's so much to do.
So 2 things I'd like to pick up from here. One, you talked about that incident when you walked into the corporate boardroom, and there's everybody is in a different attire or different look, and then you tried to change yourself, and they asked you not to change, and they try to they try to fit you in rather than they trying to ask you to fit in. They included you, they welcomed you the way you are, and also tried to see how they could be more like you. in some areas with jhumkas and all. So that reminds me of one incident which I'd like to share over here. I was doing a training program, and after the first day, this lady comes up to me. It's a 2-day training program specifically for women. And after the first day, this lady comes up to me and says that I came to attend the training program thinking yet another one. And of course, my daughter is in the 12th, and she's going to be going to college. And I had decided after that, I'm going to sit at home. And she says, today you changed my mind. And she not only changed her mind in that sense, but she did, after the 2 days of training, she actually went and shopped herself some nice jhumkas and nice jewelry, because there was a belief somewhere in her that, this is it. This is how I'm supposed to be in the office. This is how I'm supposed to conduct myself. And we kind of constrained ourselves and not be the best self at workplace. But we need to find out our own journey there. So thanks for sharing that incident. That's interesting. The other thing is, of course, about NGO, that joining an NGO, there's so much of deep connection there, and you have to have that connection.
Absolutely.
So it brings up to one question. When you have that connection, you're dealing with really, really tough times there sometimes, dealing with people with leprosy, directly interacting with them, and they're living in conditions which are something which hurts us. So while the compassion is there, there's also sometimes there's a guilt that, where are we? How do you manage that? And I'm asking you this question for a specific purpose. So, is there ever been a guilt that, I'm better off than them or anything like that?
No, there is no guilt, but yeah, there is sometimes a lot of anger. Because one, that even leprosy has a lot of stereotypes. My favorite question when I meet people is, and when we start working with people, I ask them, have you seen a person affected by leprosy? And mostly the answer is no. Or yes, I've seen them at the crossing. So I would love the right answer to be maybe, because it could be me, it could be you. Our perception that a person affected by leprosy has to have a deformity, some disability or some deformity is very, very wrong. It's and there are so many people affected by leprosy, like you and me, working in corporates and working in so many areas. So, the reason I get angry is because we've not been able to break the stereotypes. This is a disease that's earliest and the longest known ever in mankind. It's there in every religious book. Yet, even though there's a cure, there's so much of stigma around it that is only because people don't have the right knowledge. So it doesn't make me feel guilty, but it's given me so much and a sense of purpose that I try to use that anger in a more positive way and fuel myself to do something that we need to really do. So I don't use that anger in a negative way. And guilt, no, I haven't felt that guilt.
Okay, so thank you for that. And you brought out a beautiful point that, awareness of leprosy, because I had read somewhere about a year or so back that, leprosy has been eradicated from India, and you're saying it still exists. And it's...
Can I just correct? So it was never eradicated from India. It was eliminated.
Okay.
So there's a difference between elimination and eradication. Elimination is 1 in 10,000 and eradication means khatam ho gaya, completely. So India never declared that they have ever eradicated. In 2005, they declared that they had eliminated. So 1 in 10,000 still is a huge number, and a lot of districts in India haven't been able to eliminate it.
And when we say, so for a common person like me, the moment I listen to the word eliminate, I'll assume that it's eradicated. I'll take it interchangeably. So that's unfortunate part.
Yeah.
So coming back to your journey now you move from corporate, okay, so you moved from Chennai to Delhi. Now today, if you were to look back and you were to advise Nikita, who's about to move from Chennai to Allahabad to Delhi, what would that be? One advice today, looking back.
When I look back, like I've mentioned, I think that was a completely crazy thing to do. Even when I came to Delhi, the Delhiites would say, are you wrong? 3 kids, no admission in school. यहाँ पे बहुत पैसे लगते हैं, and I hardly had money at that time. You don't have a house? Are you crazy? You never get a house. Job नहीं है यहाँ, हम job के लिए ढूंढ रहे हैं. You've come looking for a job. So I would always look back and say, you know, if you believe in something, please go ahead. You have to take the first step. You have to have faith in whatever you think, and you need to also have a very visual approach towards whatever you are doing. So I would tell her, go on, and you're just perfect and beautiful. Just do what you have in mind. Just don't stop. Be unstoppable is what I would tell her. Yeah.
Yeah, and the talk title today is also Walking in Faith. So it's all been about faith for you all along.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you have, I know getting you is very, very difficult, getting a conversation with you. We'll say, okay, we'll talk today, but it never happens that day because your day gets extended till about 8:39 sometimes, and you're dealing with international associates where the timings are very, very stretched for you. Now, despite that, you're able to find time, not only to be with your children on weekends, but also be part of, be mentor to women who are experiencing domestic abuse, and you're part of single parents group, and you're also part of a group of parents with children with autism. Now,
Right.
how do you manage? Where is the balance of the work-life balance that everybody talks about? How do you manage to take time out for everything?
You know what, Madhujit, if you want to stay sane, you have to take out time for something. You have to, you have to take out time for friends. You have to take out some time for creativity. You have to take out time for your kids and for cooking, which I hate, which I'm not very fond of. Because this lockdown, I've done a lot of cooking. And
Okay.
I hate opening up WhatsApp group posts because it's all about people who have cooked and all that. So I feel I'm such a dysfunctional mother. But, I tried to make up for that by doing a lot of cooking. But I feel that at some point, you really need to, shut down everything and get into something else. And that is actually what doesn't become boring. So, and the other thing is, I don't stress or worry. There've been times when, the next day I've had such a huge problem, but I tell myself, I talk a lot to myself. I say, so jao, kuch nahi hona. Even if you worry about it, nothing's going to happen. Get up in the morning and, think about it. So I say, okay. And so that's important. And I also feel that, a mind is a very, very important, part of us, which tries to control us. And we shouldn't let a mind control us. We should control our mind. Because the moment you let the mind control you, it's not right. So we have the power to control our mind, and because often we believe, "Arey, humko aise nahi hai, waise nahi hai." I think, and yes, finding the balance in life is tremendously important. Yes, it's really fun to take out some time. So, like you see, the dream catches behind me. It's something that I wanted to make. So I love creative things, and I always find time to do something very creative, whether it's doing something like this or something else. So it's really important to find a balance and find time.
Yeah, and yeah, a lot of people from the corporate sector, when they want to do something additionally, they support the NGOs. They do something, they go teach, or they do something, or do traffic management. But somebody who's an NGO, what do they do when they have time? Or so I see that creativity happening.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's lots and lots to do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
In fact, I feel that my work in an NGO, where I work, is so creative and so challenging that even sometimes when I'm getting bored, I open my work and I start doing it. So it's quite exciting. So I never feel that there's a lot of work. Yes, I hate report writing, and I hate writing and sitting in one place for very long. But this job offers me an opportunity to be very creative as well.
mm-hmm. So, Kirtika, do we have any questions coming in?
As of now, there is none. I think there was a lot of stories to listen and just, be we're very much touched about it. So probably, I think none as of now.
All right. So Nikita, we have some students here on the online right now.
Right.
What would you advise them? They're all doing their masters, and what would you advise them?
So
what is your one advice or one or two advice to them? Because you keep meeting students, right? There must be interns coming in. There must be.
Yes. So I have a lot of fun when I meet students because they want to fall into one particular category, and if they're doing something, if they're doing MBA, but like you saw in 3 Idiots, you really need to do what your heart tells you to. So I always tell them one stupid thing: just close your eyes and visualize what you would like your future to be. Don't tell me what you're going to do 5 years from now or 10 years from now. What do you want? Where do you see yourself? So I think the fact of finding your purpose and finding something that you really enjoy, even if it's, you know, you have to take a risk, you have to take a step, it's really important. Even if it's changing your career when you're 30, when you're 40, it's still worth it. So I think the first thing is finding a sense of purpose, and the other thing is be very visual. You know, like it, you know, the Book of Secrets came much later, but then if you have something in mind, just have that in mind. Don't blur the picture. Don't let anything else color the picture, and just go for it. Just take a risk if you need to, and faith is really important. Have the faith. Don't I would say that don't be disillusioned by anything, or don't let any negativity come in. Don't let your sense of purpose ever get blurred by what you believe. Just have the faith and move on. That is something I would say.
So next question would be, yes, faith is all right. I mean, you moved with faith, we walked with faith, and you ran with faith, and you jumped with faith, everything you've done it. But fear does come across sometime. So yes. What have you been your greatest fear so far?
So my biggest fear is that what if I'm to die, and what's going to happen to my kids? Will they manage? They're not kids anymore, but yeah, they're grown up. So I have this stupid thing that when I'm traveling, I'll tell them, "Mein iska chabi wahan rakha hai, ye yahan hai," and I've even you know, put a list of things to do if I die. And that is one of my fears, that if something happens, then how will things manage? But then it's also helped me that I want to live every moment. I want to live every day, and, you know, to the best of my ability. So that is, yeah, a fear that I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else you have to say to this group that is there, a mixed group of you know, professionals and boys and girls and men and, you know, women and students and professionals? So
well, I would just say that, you know, the times when you want to do something and people around you will tell you that it may not work, but you are the ultimate decision maker. You need to decide what would be the best and go on with it. And like this is titled Beyond Belief. Just go beyond beliefs, just break stereotypes, and just go ahead in life. There is no stopping you. So like I would say, be unstoppable, like Madhujit is. So I just wanted to take one minute more before, in case there are any questions. But I wanted to say that, yeah, it's been such a wonderful association with Madhujit. Like, she got to say that we spent 6 days, 6 nights together. It was a wonderful place in Goa, and we got to know, and it was a wonderful program that we were attending. And I have learned so much from Madhujit in all these years, and we've remained connected. So it's always important to find your tribe that you vibe with. So I feel, you know, it's really important to have your tribe along with you. You will find a lot of people in your journey who you vibe with, and who understand your weirdness and craziness, because I feel I am quite weird and crazy in one sense, and that everybody can't understand me. I still love climbing trees and I still love embarrassing my children. But then if you have friends who understand your craziness, you must keep them really close to you. So that is something. And Madhujit, one question I have. So why did you choose this beyond belief?
So a whole lot of reason. I've been working a lot with women, and I see that we constrict ourselves to not only our own beliefs, but also beliefs of others. We make others' beliefs as our own beliefs. And that's been my personal experience as well. So, and going beyond them, it's just one step. So since you asked me this question, I'm going to give an example of one story that I read somewhere about these two dogs. One dog is intelligent and one dog is dumb dog, absolutely dumb. So they stay in a place which is barricaded with electric wires. So they can't electric whatever it's called, electric fencing. So they want to get out of that space. The space is good, but they've had enough of it. They want to explore the world. They can see outside the fence. They can see rabbits going, and they want to chase the rabbits. They want to see the place. So they keep trying, and whenever they try, the pain of that electric current is really, really excruciating. So one day the dumb dog says, I'm going to just do it. Intelligent dog, as intelligent. I mean, dumb dog says, let's just do it now. So intelligent dog was very, very intelligent and tells the dumb dog that don't do you know how much pain is going to be there, everything. So the dumb dog was dumb. He followed, he just went ahead. And indeed, the pain was absolutely excruciating. But beyond a certain point, after that, there was no pain. There was pleasure. There was rabbits. There was, flowers they could sniff, everything he could do. So many times with our beliefs, we are the intelligent dogs. Sometimes it's good to be dumb dogs. Just move beyond the beliefs. The dumb dogs don't believe. So they're the ones who actually go. So that's where the beyond belief. And there was a lot of interaction which happened with Kitiga and with a lot of other people. How many names we tried. And this is what we came up with. So thanks for asking that.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. Also, I just wanted to add one more thing, that from whatever I have said, it's not always been a very smooth journey. There have been so many ups and so many downs as well. And there are going to be times when you feel that you're completely defeated. And there have been. I accepted that, I've been several times to the edge where I've said, I can't handle this life. I don't want to survive. I just can't. But it's important to, just take one step back and give yourself another chance. And when you look back at those incidents that happened and that completely killed you, you remember that there was, that gave you an opportunity to take another step which opened another door. So I feel that, when you are at your lowest and when you think that everything is over, you probably, if you take a step back and you look at something else, it might be a new opportunity. I know it sounds very, something that won't happen realistically, but it's real. It's real. So when you look 10 years down the line and you look at your journey, you'll realize that everything, all your sufferings, all your problems really helped you in making you a much stronger person and taking you a better step in ensuring where you are today. So that's something I needed to tell as well.
Yeah, so just yesterday, somebody was telling me about this company called Byju's. I'm sure all the students must have heard. It's one of the fastest growing startups with great funding and fabulous idea. And it's a training. I mean, we've seen the ads where Shah Rukh Khan is doing the ad that children, online courses, children doing online courses, and Shah Rukh Khan is in different avatars of a different parent. And the children are saying that this is much better. So apparently Byju's is one of the most fast growing, and it's a dream for any company to be like that. But Byju's has been around for 10 years. So, wow. And they've been in limelight past 2 years. So they have been through that 8 years. We don't see the 8 years. We only look at the 2 years. So if we start something off, do something new, we wait for 2 years and then we want to say, oh, it's not working. Let's just move to something else. Yes, and multiple other examples like that. So when you say there are going to be more failures than successes, but if you hold on to our dreams, we are going to be, we're going to look back and be happy about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think, Kitika, there are some questions coming in.
So I'm just going to take 5 minutes for presenting the question. So Tejwant, do you want to ask the question by yourself, or do I go ahead?
Yeah. It's very nice to be a part of this conversation. It is really wonderful. Thank you, Kirtika, for joining me in this. And I have a question to Miss Nitika.
You can show yourself also. It's fine.
Okay, I'm in the kitchen.
Comfortable.
So, okay.
If you're in the kitchen, I've been atta gunding also. And
Hi. So I have a question, like, being a homemaker and, working and participating in all these things that you have been doing, do you still miss something that, this is the thing that I'm missing. I need to do this as well. So is there something that pulls you towards something that, हाँ ये है अभी मुझे करना है, I'm missing this thing? Do you have something like that?
So there are two things that I feel that I need to invest more time, and one is traveling for myself. So I do a lot of work travel, but I want to just pack my bags and then kind of go and just explore places, do nothing, just lie down and look at the stars. So that is one thing that I want to. The other thing that I feel in terms of people handling depression and domestic violence, I need to invest more time in that, because the numbers are rising. People, and I am a part of support group, because in my son who has autism, and I was a part of support group. The support group was the one that actually helped me and really supported. So we are support to each other. And more than doctors and more than these mental health experts, and more than, of course, we need them, but we also need a great support group. And I feel that kind of support group is really lacking in India, and we need to build that up more. So yes, I want to, take out more time and put that over there. Otherwise, I haven't really given it a thought when I'm missing. Perhaps there's not much of time to think, but then that's it from me.
Thank you so much,
Nikita. That is a very interesting answer. And there are two more questions, so I'm combining. It's something related to Tejwant's question. Shivani, she's asking if what are your future plans? Would you like to ask Shivani by yourself the question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, personally, I appreciate, and it's very, the story you shared, was very motivating. What are your future plans? I personally, I am expecting something very new after the story you shared. So, anything you want to explore more, or something different you want to do?
So, my future plans is currently, because there is a huge need in our, in the world today, and especially in India. And being in this organization, I'm committed completely to this cause. And I have some goals for myself. So professionally, I am totally focused on these goals. We have about 119 discriminatory laws, and now about 102. So these are something that I really need to, and otherwise on a personal level, I live each day as it comes in. I don't look at, but I would love to have a house in the hills, because I have a beautiful dog, and I just visualize him running about and playing in the hills. So that is someday I may have I may start focusing on building a house on the hill. Otherwise, that's no particular future plan. I really enjoy living each day as it comes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikita. And the last question is from Madhavi. Madhavi, would you like to go ahead with the question by yourself, or would you want me to do it?
Hi, Nikita.
Hi, Madhavi.
It's a wonderful interaction. I mean, actually, I think my question has been kind of answered, because I was really looking at, how do you manage stereotypes, and not in one place, stereotype in work, I mean, there are so many things that comes in. How do you handle that pressure?
So what stereotype are you talking about, Madhvi?
Working woman.
Yeah, so there are a lot of stereotypes, especially about working women and working women who are single, because people look at single people, they're very, very, kind of driven down stereotypes about single people. So I love breaking stereotypes, I love breaking stereotypes, and I don't let that affect me, and I just be me as I am. And um, yeah, I just go about being myself and breaking. And especially when it was quite tough initially, when people had this, oh, single person. So if you conduct yourself with a lot of confidence and a lot of respect, people do on the way change your opinion and change their mind about the stereotypes that are there. They do.
Yeah, I guess so. You guess so. In fact, one of the things where you were telling, the advice for the students, where you were saying that, visualize where you want to be 5 years, you don't sell. I was thinking it's not for the students, it's more like for me. I would also like to do that,
Yes.
Close my eyes and visualize where I want to be 5 years down the lane. So even if I have, let's say, many people might think that, my life is almost like 50% over. Still, I feel like, I think I should do that. That's a takeaway for me.
Absolutely. So it's not just for students, it's at any point of time, any point. It's not about just changing your life, it's about also finding your purpose and just
Correct.
closing your eyes and just thinking. It sounds very weird, but then it really works. It really works. You kind of, the more you think or the more you brainstorm, you finally realize what you want to, and then you must go for it completely.
And Madhvi is a professor in a college, so
Oh, wow.
she's
Lovely.
doing a lot of marketing, and some of the discussions that I have with Madhvi is about women still earn less than their male counterparts, and sometimes probably I think it came from Madhvi or somebody else. They said even that they heard somebody overheard somebody saying, "Oh, she's the second breadwinner in the family. He needs more, so let's give him the raise rather than her." So, you're in any case a second breadwinner. These kind of stereotypes which go along with women, and it's not about what you contribute, but your gender is determining how much you earn.
Yes.
Absolutely. In fact, I had, not right now, but some of my bosses earlier telling me that aapko to kis liye chahiye, aap to bade log ho, you are pretty rich yourself, you come in a car, you come in this, why do you need a pay raise, kind of a thing. And I was like, I'm working equally the same amount of work, so why shouldn't I get the raise? So that is the thing that's there. Anyway, that's probably for some other day's discussion.
No, but you're right. We shouldn't take this kind of nonsense and always be the voice, because there are many people who don't want to speak up, but it's important to speak up. And this I've learned from my son. There were some, at a certain point of time, that there was something that was really upsetting me, and I was, being a little bullied. Imagine me being bullied. But yeah, he did notice that, and I would just come and rant at home. And then he told me, he said, you don't have to take it. You just don't have to be a nice person all the time. Sometimes give back also. It's important to say what you really feel. And I did that. I went with a lot of Josh and Hosh, and I said, okay. So I really gave it off to the person I felt I was like being bullied by. And it completely turned the whole situation. So a lot of people try to bully you and try to say things to you, to belittle you, and but then it's always important to see the situation, and if need be, stand up for your own self.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nikita. I think that we have answered all the questions.
Anything on Facebook that's coming up?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's fine then. All right. So with that, Nikita, any parting words? Thank you so much for this wonderful sharing. And it's amazing to hear about your journey from where you started from Chennai to Wicked and to corporate life to NGO and doing so well and still being your chirpy self and all the walking in the faith. Thank you so much for that. Any parting comments?
I want to thank you so much for, inviting me. It's really a privilege to be a part of this network. I really, really appreciate. And yes, I want to say that, dream on. There's no dream that's too big. So you must continue dreaming and believing in yourself. I think just believing in yourself and carry on having a conversation with yourself. Just love yourself. It's important to love yourself and, and be your own best friend, because that will really help you in the way forward. So thank you so much for inviting me.
It was an absolute pleasure, Nikita, to have you with us. And I'm pretty sure that's the same case with the entire participants list also. And it is so beautiful to, start a Saturday, a weekend, with a bunch of good thoughts and vibes. And my special thanks to, joining us and on this morning.
Yeah. And before we go, just one quick picture for all of us. Let's put ourselves in a video camera on and let's be there. Everyone, can we put our cameras on now? We want to see you. Yes, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure having you. Have a fabulous weekend. And bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madhujit, for this.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye then.
Bye.